Okay, so I probably don't need to convince this room that working together and taking a lot of expertise and diversities has some merit. But it's not always that it has merit. It depends on the technology. If our technology allows for a lot of collaboration with not a lot of effort for each collaborator and each expertise, and for each one to bring their own expertise differently, and for also not repeating the same process for every new expert, which makes parallelism a bad thing. There are all kinds of things in technology that would allow or not allow collaboration to be a productive thing. And in essence, we see collaborative efforts succeeding when the tools, like Sarah noted before, or the collaborations support it. So for a long time, and this might remind you 2 talks ago, for a long time, what the main motivation of what I'm trying to build is what I think about as Wiki-models. We don't want to create Wikipedia as the best technology out there. We want to have the technology that supports a lot of people adding their own expertise in different levels, in the architectures, in the weights, in all kinds of levels. And probably maybe the most known thing I was doing on that is model merging and collaborative descent, which is a lot of efforts of merging one after the other. But because I think it's more known, I'll try to talk on a different scale today, and that is data. So we heard a lot about opening models, model weights, model infrastructure, all kinds of those things. But I think there was less talk about opening the data, the interaction, the outcomes of all of those models. And we know that APIs have it and they collect this data. I think it's a useful thing to have. It's useful because we might, as researchers, want to know how language evolves during interactions with models. I know some researchers in the audience would do that, like Yoav's works at the left. There are works on human feedback and improving the models. That how would we know, again, something mentioned today, how would we know what do we want to improve if we just guess it and focus on what we like to research? We want to have a lot of data, look at how people use it, maybe annotate errors, annotate what are the major things to tackle, and then tackle them and keep on iterating. And there are even discussions about whether we need synthetic data or not synthetic data. Again, why is that either or? There were a couple of slides today that also mentioned it, also a paper recently. We can distribute a lot of the data of the problems of the annotation, and then maybe create synthetic data and all of our other tools to tackle the problems that the community gives us, or that the interaction gives us, or that keep on arising. So I think this is one example where diversity can really excel. It's not hard to talk to those models and use them. It's not too hard to give a point of annotation and saying, this really matters to me, and this model is not good at that enough, but we're not using it, we're not collecting it, and we're not studying and benefiting from it. Again, I think the way to tackle that is not with one solution. The current thing that we're thinking of is whether we can have a lot of different approaches that all gather human model interactions. They may be different annotation efforts. Maybe some of them would be on a lot of languages. Others may focus on communities that feel that there's some problem in the model and they want to tackle that. And maybe some of them would just go over all human model interaction and just see what's out there. Our first step was that we released a plugin for Chrome, so people that already interact with models can just say, oh, I want to share my own data. That's for you, for the research community. But we are currently in the work of gathering a lot of people from a lot of organizations to think of this vision more, write it, and hopefully the next step would be also to work on a lot and tackle a lot of small things in it. So if this somehow appeals to you, feel free to reach out and take which kind of level of participation you want, whether it's technical, whether it's just seeing the paper at the end and giving comments, maybe specific sections, I don't know, the privacy issues, there are a lot of privacy issues here, all kinds of things, reach out. Okay, so that might be one large goal, but I kept on mentioning annotation, and that might be the third main, I think, idea I'm gonna convey. Do we even really need to base ourselves on annotation that much? Don't we, in some sense, already have annotations? In human interaction, I'm used to knowing whether the other person is happy with what I told them, or whether they tell me, they ask me another thing, which means that I didn't give them what they expect, and so on. And models are now good enough to get simple cues like great, and that wasn't what I asked for. Could you rephrase it again, or something like that? So in very initial results, we are working on it. We found that 1 out of 3 chats or human model interactions already have currently feedback. So humans do give feedback to those models without them thinking it's ever used, just because we give each other feedback. The other thing is that it's also reasonable to gather this feedback. For now, we get somewhat reasonable precision and recall. We're still working on it, and it's it's ongoing work, but it's at least something you can do. If we have such tools, I think that would give us another step in this human ongoing interaction, because people will start having reason to give feedback to models, because they know that if they are talking about my very specific topic that I care about and no one else would improve the model for me, I might tell it, that was not good enough. Could you do something else? I might correct it, and I might even have communities of different models. Automata mentioned personalization and things like that. We might have different models for different topics and different ideas and communities that care about their own things, and the models would have feedback, so they would be improved if they're useful. And it also gives motivation to do it. So those were the 3 main things I discussed: making models evolve and making the technologies that support collaborating on models, collaborating on data, and last, that maybe we can already use the data out there. Questions?